For those of you lovers of Caro-Kann defense, this video might be just exactly what you need. It's a game that I played it in the Daily Chess Championship on chess.com. First round. So I'm playing with whites versus another virtual friend here that I was paired up against, Aditya from India, the country that now has a bunch of very strong grandmasters. So great honor for me. Awesome stuff. So Caro-Kann, normally I go hillbilly in the Caro-Kann. I play a very unorthodox approach with white. Normally I do e4 and c6, and then I'm going to go with the very counterintuitive bishop c4, eliciting my opponent playing d5. But I've decided, because it's a correspondence game, I've decided to go very classically, so no funky approach or anything. Also, I'm leaving the eval gauge on the left, so you guys having a constant vision of what's going on in terms of quality of moves and stuff. So this is a series of book moves in the Caro-Kann. All right. So d5, there's nothing that you guys probably don't know. Knight c3, I chose to develop in this fashion here, so takes and takes. I'm not going to stop with every single one of these moves. I want to get into the depths of the future moves, if I may express myself like this. So knight takes f6 and e takes. Now he's ready to play the bishop on f8, who's free to go. So c3 I chose to play. I dream about making a battery here. Oh, actually, let me use blue paint because we got a Cosmos theme anyway on the background. So I'm dreaming about getting the bishop and a queen, respectively d3, c2 in the future. Also, if black wants to castle short, that's one idea they have to be paying attention to. So my opponent developed now, again, by the book, nothing unexpected or shockingly surprising. Castle short. So from white's point of view now, the target is clear. The target is here. So I can actually put all my forces and concentration into attacking h7 because that's where the black king is. So they've already committed. Not a bad move, castle short, don't get me wrong. Everything is happy. The eval gauge just shows that actually it's quite cool and a theoretical approach, but it's good to point out the certainty now for white knows what to go for. So queen c2, I'm having a battery already h7 now under attack. Let's do the blue paint nice, showing the target. So now they have to defend, and they defend with g6. Not a problem. Not a problem. It's an excellent move. And at this stage now, I loved taking the squares around my opponent's king to control them if I can. And now that comes exactly as an opportunity for me. I'm developing something with tempo. It's a good move. So from my understanding as a human, bishop from c1 goes nicely on h6. You take the g7, you attack the rook with tempo, which of course very tempted to checking the white king itself. But as long as you have the knight ready to go on e2, there ain't no big problem about this one. So indeed, they move the rook, the best stuff, attacking the white king. Knight to e2 now. Blocking naturally, so I'm able now to castle either short or long. So both of them are equally good. Now my opponent plays something here. The almighty engine now in hindsight says that actually the best stuff to do being black here is knight a6, which I gotta tell you something from a human understanding. Knight a6, knowing very well that you can't play b4, you can't play c5, and you've got to develop the bishop first and then to go knight d7, because you see, if you play this, you probably need to think about playing afterwards bishop e6, and then you play knight. So if you play this stuff here, you want to go knight c7, but if you go knight c7, you can't have the battery yourself with queen c7, bishop d6. So I'm not sure what's this move going to achieve here for black. Great deal. Perhaps bishop e6, knight d7 better. So personally, I understand that bishop e6 followed by knight d7 would be a better choice than knight a6. Anyway, guys, feel free to tell me your best understanding and your feedback. Maybe I'm missing something and I'm happy to understand even more, and we can actually converse about this. So now they dropped bishop to f8. Bishop to f8, which is kind of understandable. I think they were a little bit frustrated with my bishop's presence on h6, taking all those squares, so they weren't feeling very comfortable, which I kind of just took. Not kind of, I just took. And rook takes. And you see, it's one of those ideas you take with the rook. Rook was very nicely actively positioned on e, pinning the knight. Now they move the rook on f8. Great would have been just simply go with the king, and there is any danger. I don't know when and how you just move the king back if you think there might be a danger, or maybe just play king to g7 if queen all of a sudden goes d2. I mean, just an idea. But for my type of doing this middle game tactics out now, I would say king takes is way better and more natural, keeping the rook on the open file. So that's how I think. Not the end of the world. You could see now the engine appreciates that this is a playable move, it's a good move. So, and now h4. H4, I just thought for a while here, should I castle short? What am I doing? But because the target is on g8, because my target is on the g file, why not do castle long perhaps? And why not pushing the h pawn, which I just did, h, and I dream about pushing and taking and opening up the h and stuff. So that's exactly the plan that I had. f5 now played by my opponent. I think why exactly they do that? Maybe they wanted to cut off my super powerful battery. They wanted to what? Discourage me playing f3, g4. Hard to say. f5. Okay. Definitely limiting in terms of my battery now. So I guess in relation to this, move being appreciated as the best. Nonetheless, h5, because I'm consistent with the plan, I don't see any big danger for the time being. And bishop e6 played by my opponent. And I've chosen to castle. And now if you guys might say, well, wait a minute, the bishop takes on a2, why did you do that? Actually, I think would be a little bit of a poisonous pawn, because the a2 pawn, if it's been taken by the bishop, we can trap them eventually with b3, and they're going to have to give us the bishop. Yeah, for 2 pawns, but still a piece is a piece, and that bishop is super active. I mean, it's a good piece to having. I don't think you want to give it for 2 pawns now. So I wasn't very keen on playing b3. So yeah, that's why I just went with the castle long. I'm not afraid of bishop takes a2, which I think is a blunder. So knight d7 played by my opponent. Now again, it's one of those moves that as a human you would appreciate. You want to get your guys out. I mean, you can't just keep knight on b8. Perhaps knight a6, knight c7 might have provided more opportunities. Nevertheless, after they move knight e7, developing move, I took on g6. Now the h file is open for my rook, so I'm very happy with this rook now. Very happy. You can't get more happier than that. And they took with the right one. Would have been a disaster to take with the h, because would have been completely open to all sorts of deadly threats here, combined rook and queen together. So they took with f. That makes sense. So knight to f4, developing, moving forward, simply threatening to take on e6 and forking queen and rook. Tactics after tactics, simple stuff going with. Queen to g5. That's very good stuff. Now, I can't really take it. I'm absolutely pinned. I can't take the bishop because the queen pins my knight to the king. And of course, I can't move the king because then I'm going to lose the knight. So I have to reinforce the knight, and I did with g3. Cool. I still can't touch the knight. Now, my opponent played probably in a purely defensive intention, rook to f7. But rather than this, if they really getting attached by the bishop, which I think it should be preserved here, bishop to f7 would have been better for black, because first you move the bishop away from the knight's attack when the king moves b1. You save your bishop on this, actually. Good diagonal for black to preserve for the bishop. And then you can play with your rooks whichever way you're feeling more preferable. And then you could try to figure out a plan to to open up the B, the C, go with the A and such. So bishop should have stayed there, better spot than rook itself, which kind of like blocks the bishop. But I understand their intent. Probably they were a little bit concerned about the 7th rank h7 and things. Anyway, that was their choice. Definitely better would have been to save the bishop. And now I move the king to b1 because I want to free up my knight to do stuff like this. So again, my opponent played the backward defensive move, and now things starting to going down a little bit for black because of those misevaluations. I mean, the second misevaluation comes now. Bishop to d5, way better. So this bishop, if you want to look at this bishop is compromised already. So you can't save it, right? Since black decided to play rook f7, the bishop can't go f7 itself. You can't save the black bishop at this stage, right? So if you can't save it, very well, you may try just bishop d and d5, and you attack the rook, right? You attack an active rook, and maybe you're going to force me to take, and that's fine. You're just playing this fashion, and then you're going to take, and then you're going to get the rook on the c. There is some nice potential here for black. It's not game over, but this move just simply allows white to take initiative, removing the very active bishop, and things are going to go down very quickly. So knight takes back. And what's going on here is after black had chosen to give me the bishop, there is a big weaknesses now that's been formed. And the problem for black, and the reason for which you see now the Val gauge going massively in white's favor, is that black pieces, the king, the rook, and the knight, are all aligned on that light square diagonal, which is actually the main killer for black here. So simply white enjoys this diagonal. They've given me their bishop, and now instead they're finding themselves in a very nasty pin that it's very difficult to get out of, and if not impossible at this stage. So very important those middle moves. So instead of rook f7 some 4 moves ago, if they had played bishop f7, this thing wouldn't have happened. So now Aditya plays rook a to e8, of course, defending the knight, which is being attacked, and the knight can't move because the rook is behind, and even if they could, there is the king behind. So the reason for which white is doing very well here is this diagonal. So the only thing I'm doing now, adding more pressure on the pin piece. That's it. There's no other fabulous plan, nothing I'm aiming for. And now I played something that the engine doesn't really love. The engine considers queen b3 would have been the natural continuation here. But I decided actually to double up my rooks. I wanted to get actually the rook from the h over to e file and then pouncing with the queen for a 4th attacker. So now rook e, and now my opponent plays the king to g7. It's not very clear for me why exactly. I just tried to figure out what was the idea, and I think I understand why from a human point of view, is that my opponent wanted to move the king from potentially this incredibly annoying diagonal. So that's exactly why they played the king. Now I just simply adding more pressure on the pinned knight. So although the king is not on g8, there is still a lot of attacking power on the light squares, and I'm just getting on the weakness. That's it. And now my opponent moved the rook out of the pin, so the plan was moving the king, probably in their minds, in Aditya's mind, and then the rook going out of the pin, so they thought now they're actually freeing up stuff. And now I play queen to e2. What does that mean? It means quadruple attack on e6. It means bishop and rook and queen and rook attacking 4 times and is defended only 3 times. And it means, I'm not sure if you are supposed to be moving this guy, but the problem is I'm also attacking 3 times on e7. So very important to counting always the attackers and defendants. So practically this is a massive pin for my opponent now, and the pin has switched from this a light square diagonal. It's switched to this column. So knight is pinned again. is pinned again. They can't move the knight because e7 is being attacked 3 times by the white pieces, the 2 rooks and the queen. So knight can't move. Disaster. Again, a pin. And king moves back in the pin. So now you could say the knight is the mother of all the pinned pieces ever. The knight is pinned by the bishop in an absolute way, and the knight is pinned. Even if the king wasn't here, the knight would be pinned because I'm attacking 3 times e7. So black has a massive issue with this idea. And now you may wonder, why did I play a4? Very simple. I wanted to limit from black any possible attempts in regards and discouraging this kind of stuff here. And I wanted to make sure I'm able to just simply traveling with the bishop and maintaining actually the diagonal. I'm not sure I was. So this a4, after they push the b, this guy gonna take, and if this guy gonna take, of course, bishop takes and the rook's being attacked, so it's quite frustrating for them, I would assume. So as a discouragement and any chances to moving the bishop back if necessary, that was right there available for me. So now they played the g, and at this stage, I was desperate to simplify the game and convert it to my advantage. And I just simply went with a human queen to h5, checking the king, and also not just checking. I know that the engine is never happy with me being human, but I don't care. Queen to h5 checks the king and attacks h7. So now they defended with a good move. King f8 would have been the best. Almighty judging here, Stockfish, but Queen g6. And now I've taken the decision to, and it's a little bit of a tactic here because you're winning a very important pawn, really going for a straight win. Rook takes f5, and so before rushing into capturing, which is not that great, that would be just a trade, really. Why not grab a pawn in the process? The in-between intermezzos Vichensug. Rook takes f5, checking. Queen can't take the rook because it's pinned, and the king is in check. So he moved the king away. And now I've decided, you know, it's time to finish this thing. Trade off everything. Queen takes, king takes, they decided. And now back to the ultra strong battery. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Forcing black to moving king to f6, defending, for the third time again. And this is the moment when I've decided, I looked at the position and I decided that's it. Everything needs to come out the board right now. So rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, bishop takes, king takes. This is it. This is the position. This is it. I'm winning. Why? Because I got a pawn majority here on the queen side. Let's just put blue paint. Pawn majority here. And all I need to do is to deny the black king access into my half territory. So it goes like this, the story. G4. Why did I play it? You may wonder, my very dear friends. I don't wanna give the black any chances to moving king closer to my half territory or giving them the chance to pushing the black pawn. So that has to be stopped. Now king goes on d5 because they want to go to e4. So we can't allow that to happen. So f3. I mean, it says like a great move, but I didn't feel anything great about it rather than the normal stuff to do, as you need to deny the black king's access to your half territory. c5 takes, of course. I can't let them take. They're going to be winning a pawn, so I have to react to this. I'm forced. And king takes. And now very easy stuff. King to c2. I want to march on with my own king going to the center. Now they go c4, but of course I'm not going to let that guy exist there. b3, just you pushing them back and go king to d3. Yeah, of course, you could go with the b4, a5, but I really feel I need to get the king closer, more active. And probably it's visible, guys. The king wants to infiltrate himself on the f4, so I'm not happy with that. I don't want to give them any counterplay, any chances to do something. So denying any points of entrance, as long as I'm having the pawn majority here, I'm quite happy with this. King goes back to d5 on a breakthrough. Yeah, the engine says I should be going b4 or a5, but I'm actually want to I want to attack these two guys as well and preserve one pawn that actually goes and promotes. So to know something, I'm playing it. Yeah, maybe they could have played what in this sequence here. G takes f4. Still, I'm very happy with this. Why? Because my king just simply goes to attacking the h7 black pawn. So I think they got a problem. There's no good move for black at this stage, so I'm going to move a little bit faster. There's no super plan apart from keeping the black king locked here into guarding h7. So they can't move anywhere else but g8. They can't move but g8, h8, g8, h8. And in the meantime, my friends, I've got a pawn majority. 3 versus 2, and one white pawn would be a pass pawn very soon. So now I'm moving b4, and my opponent goes h8, and just moving the guy up and up and up. a5 now, not giving them any chance to moving this guy down the board, and now playing the b. Sorry, I keep it nice and simple. And now it's completely unstoppable. This guy will be going forward. Either you take or not. Queen is coming here on a8. King is miles away from those two pawns. And even if the black king could have magically teleported itself, I would have captured the other guy and then, queen's coming either way. So guys, thanks for watching this short film. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel or TikTok platform or Twitch or Kick.com or whichever platform you're seeing this on. Share it with family and friends if you find it useful. Join my live streams, and I'm very happy to look at your last games you played or just engaging into some puzzle solving or some rapid games or some blitzes. Thanks for watching this. Soren Chess Coach here, and see you next time.